guys, it's me. I'm back.
What's up, party people?
We're like, Mads, come on. All right, this show is taking a turn for the.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Monster Bass Live. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for being here. We got a great show for you today. We got the Robinson family, and if you don't know who they are, you soon will. They are. It's not just a dad fishing the Pro Tour. It's not just a son fishing the Pro Tour. It's sons. And this is a pretty accomplished family when it comes to tournament fishing. We're going to get to know them a little bit up close and personal today. We're going to talk about the success they're having on tour, talk about the spawn because it is that favorite time of the year when we get to go out and catch some donkeys. And as you know, that's one of the reasons why we're here today. We're here today to celebrate you guys and your catches and come together for a sport that we all love. And I want to kick it off by acknowledging some of you that have sent in your pictures. And if you haven't done so yet, it's your opportunity. Head over to monsterbass.com/PB, whether you do it now or you do it later. Upload your catch, and if we use it online during the show or at any time, we'll send you a little something to congratulate you. And so without further ado, let's kick it off. Let's see some pics, Fixie. All right, first, we got Tony Riggs, 3 pounds 9 ounces on the chatterbait out of Michigan. We got Jeremiah Reed, 5 pounds 6 ounces on a jerkbait. Devin Amori, 9 pounds 8 ounces. That's a good picture too. I like that. I caught that on a frog. Now we're getting into the double digits. We got Taylor Blondell, 10 pounds 8 ounces. Out of Florida on a toad. And last but not least, Joshua Jackson of Dawson Creek fame and fortune. Caught a 7-pounder in Kentucky on the Monster Bass Vibe Master. Congratulations to you guys. And we're going to send you a little something to say thank you for uploading your picture and congratulations. And, we're all really proud of your catches. And one of these days, I'm going to have a picture up there too. Maybe even Fixie and Raphie and, I'm pretty sure we'll show one of Chris's because he's going to start fishing the Windy Wednesday tournaments, and we can talk about that another time. But we got Raphie Man in the chat. And as you know, we're going to give away some stuff today. And so Raphie will pick someone in the chat that's just crushing it. And then I'll just pick somebody based upon who calls in and asks the best questions. And we'll give you something out of the garage. We got a lot of stuff. A whole new shipment of stuff just arrived. And I'd like to give it away to you so I can put the car in the garage. So, all right. Before we get started, let's say hi to Chris. Let's bring Chris on board. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Rick? It's been a good week around here. I'll tell you, I went spawn fishing, and we'll get into that a little bit, but I took Kelly. We went bed fishing just because I was kind of anti-bed fishing maybe last week. I had a couple people send me some messages, and they're like, it's just because you're no good at this. And so I have some theories, and I can't wait to talk to our guests because I know they're accomplished. I have a theory with bed fishing that I want to put to the test later. But no, they're doing great. This week's been good. Taxes out of the way. I keep mentioning taxes. So, it's tax. And in the saltwater world, you always show those fish at just the heads left. You catch this great catch, and the sharks are called the taxmen in the saltwater world. Yeah. And so you have all these great shots of everybody of their fish that was half eaten before it got to the boat. But yeah, I'm telling you, America, we're here. It's free country. Podcast is live. I mean, we got an awesome guest. The green room just smiles already talking about the family battles and fishing. So
yeah, for sure. Now tell me about this Windy Wednesday, these tournaments you're going to start fishing.
So Windy Wednesday, it's like the folklore of California. So whoever is in the area, the Delta is like the most historic water in California. Of course, we have Clear Lake, but the California Delta, thousands and thousands of miles of waterway, all of the water coming out of the Sierras converges into the Delta. And the Delta is just chock full of monster bass. People catch 10, 12, 13, 14-pound fish. I have the pleasure of fishing with my buddy, John. He was on the show. He's won like 30 events in the Delta. And Windy Wednesday, so it's windy because you have this Delta breeze in the afternoon in the summer. It kicks off next month, Wednesdays it's like a 3 o'clock till 9 o'clock. Whoever shows up trucks pull into a parking lot. They line up 100 boats long, top pros. You get Ish Monroe. You get whoever's in town between their stops on tour. You're fishing against the best in the business. So standard tournament, 2 guys on a boat. You go out and 5 best fish. I got to bring home a little cash last year, and it's not just your average, hey, no big deal, open class. It's heavy slugfest. Talking for like the dirty 30, looking for 30-pound bags. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, last year the Delta was suffering because the water was so much snow and so much. I mean, basically got blown out, and so the fishing was pretty tough. We were catching spawn fish like into June. This year it's a little more normal, and some of the bags. John was just out with the high school, and the kids took him out. A high school record, caught I think almost 28 pounds. And nice. The kids, he drove the boat. The kids won. So now I'm like, pressure's on, John. You went out with these kids. Him and I are buddies on the boat. So we'll keep you posted each week about what happens with that. So we're excited.
Love it. Look forward to that for sure. Before we kick it off, I just want to say thank you to Liquid Death for keeping us hydrated throughout the show. If you're not familiar with Liquid Death, you can pick them up at 7-Eleven or any convenience store, gas station where you typically buy your gas or your favorite beverages. This happens to be Bury It Alive, and I'm going to be drinking this all day. So thank you to Liquid Death for sponsoring the show. Our guest today, it's not one person. I mean, we could literally have a screen at the bottom with an entire family. These guys, I don't know if it's in the DNA, but we're going to find out. But the Robinson family, we're going to have Marty Robinson on. He's on the Bass Pro Tour. It's funny. He doesn't really know me, but when I got into this industry, I met a guy named Michael McDevitt. And McDevitt worked for a company called Castaway. And he introduced me to some people, and I met him one time, and that was like my first entry into it. At first, it was Travis, and then I met Marty down at Castaway Rods a long time ago. So Marty's been on tour for a long time. He's won pretty close to $1 million. His son Marshall's 20 years old, and he was the rookie of the year, and now he's fishing on the tour. And his younger brother Mitchell just won the high school championship. So this family's no stranger to catching fish, and we're really excited to have them on the show. So let's give them a big warm welcome to the Robinsons. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
What's up?
How you doing?
Man, we doing lovely out here, son. It's getting close to dark out here on the East Coast, but we're doing good though. The weather's good. It's nice.
Nice. So Marty, all right. So you've been on tour for a long time, and I've heard you referred to as Marty the Party. I've watched you up on stage a couple times, so you're no stranger to this. But what's it like as a dad to sit back and now watch your son succeed at the highest levels?
Yeah, man, it's been great. There's nothing like, I tell a lot of buddies of mine, there's nothing like being able to travel and fish with your sons. It's really fun to travel with a buddy, a close buddy that you've known. Me and Casey Ashley, we've traveled together, since we've been on tour, probably back in '07. And, we have a great time. We've always been straight up. It's been great to travel together because you share information. But, it just takes it to another level, when you get to travel with one of your boys, spend time with your kids and family. And, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm really having a great time this season. We traveled together last year on the Tackle Warehouse, and it was also, fun. But it's a different level now on the Bass Pro Tour. And, dude, I love it. I couldn't ask for any more,
Yeah. What makes Marshall such a good angler?
Oh, well, I think it's his stubbornness, dude. These kids these days, you can't tell them nothing. They know everything. And I'm just kidding. He's a pretty humble guy. He's really confident in what he does. He's super confident in his fishing. And at a really young age, man, what I noticed about him, he took a huge interest to everything in the outdoors, from bugs crawling across the ground to bass busting on the surface, dude. He noticed it at every level. And it really surprised me at times, stuff he noticed on the water that I didn't even notice or pick up on. And, I thought he had something special. I really did. I'd been around a lot of guys that had, you know, KBD's room with us over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, before he retired. I've been around Aaron Martins, you know, one of the greatest guys I've ever known, actually from the West Coast out your way. And Aaron, you know, I could just always see that little special stuff that Aaron noticed that everybody else didn't notice. And, you know, I really thought he had some of that uniqueness about him that I saw in Kevin and Aaron and guys like that on tour over the years. And I think that led to his success and what he's doing now.
It's amazing. Marshall, what's the best piece of advice that your dad's given you about fishing the tour?
Well, he's given me a bunch for sure, but you know, he's always told me not to, you know, for one, not to overthink it. When it all comes, you know, at the end of the day, it all comes down to going out there and catching fish. And that it's as simple as that. It's just you and the fish. And you definitely gotta trust yourself and be confident, like he was saying, because you're the only guy who can catch them. You know, you can't depend on somebody else to do it for you. So you got to go out there, do what you know how to do. And you got to have the mindset that you're going to do good, you're going to crush it, or, you know, you'll get left in the dust. So that's really, for me, that's one of the biggest things, is just the mental side of it, you know?
Sure.
Love it. I gotta hop in here because I have a lot of boys. I got 5 boys actually. And so we're always out, you know, rubbing shoulders, doing sports, kind of competition. I just want to know, if the two of you are on a boat together fishing, whether it's pre-fishing or in a tournament, whatever, who's driving, who's up front, who's in the back? Right. I'm going right to it.
Yeah. You know, I thought it was bad having 2 boys on the water. You got 5 boys. Goodness, son.
Yeah, I got 5 boys from, I mean, we're talking in their 30s all the way down to a 16-year-old competitive. One's a competitive now disc golfer. We surf, we ride motorcycles, fishing. Doesn't matter what we're doing. There's always that friendly family competition. So these are the fun things. Has Junior passed you? Because this is that whole, I love to see my kids surpass me in whatever I'm doing and to watch them, that joy you get. But there's still that competition that I know, obviously you're still on the tour and you got that fire. Does that help you guys? Because I didn't get the answer yet of who's up front on the trolling motor, but we'll get to that in a minute. What is that like, maybe from a dad's perspective, and then maybe from your perspective, Marshall? How is that competing with the family, but then also having that family support? How do you separate those two pieces?
Well, from my perspective, I don't get to see the trolling motor much unless it is a BPT event or something. My trolling motor, my running the front days is probably over around the house. You know, and that's fine with me. I kind of challenge them. I let them make the decisions. I always wanted them, you know, I knew that would make them, but that was the only thing that would make them better fishermen, is to make all the decisions and just go with their instincts. And, you know, I try to sit back there and blind cast and, keep up, which usually don't work out too great these days anymore. But that's my perspective. I'll let him tell you his. Man.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, going back to the front of the boat thing, he may say that I run it a lot. I'm a trolling motor hog, whatever. But when me and my little brother fish tournaments, I never run the front. Rarely, you know, I fish out the back. And so I'd say he's the biggest trolling motor hog of them all. But it goes back to just like, you know, every now and then you're on tour, you're fishing all these tournaments. You're obviously you run the front, making all the decisions. And sometimes you don't get to just sit back, relax, maybe just drag something, just look around. You know, you ain't got to constantly be running the trolling motor or looking at the screen. So, you know, I like fishing out of the back, and I like catching them out of the back better than my little brother up in the front scoping, because then it really gets in his head, you know, and I like to mess with it.
That's, finally the true competition. I love that. I prefer that. Like if I'm kayak fishing with a buddy, I love to fish underneath his kayak just to kind of like nitpick him a little bit, because I know the fish are, if we're real quiet and calm, they're starting to use them as some structure, some shade. So I know exactly what you're talking about, to prove that maybe you're better. I asked you, Marshall, and this is kind of cheating, and I want to hear from your dad, who's the best angler? And you gave me great perspective, and I hope you kind of answer, even though I asked you this earlier, who's the best angler in the family? Let's hear it.
Is this for me or him?
It's for both. I want it from just pretend you don't hear each other's answers,
Okay.
but give me your honest, right off the cuff. Who's the best angler in the family?
All right. So yeah, like I would tell anybody, you got to be confident. So you're never going to hear me say that somebody's better than me. So I'm going to go with me. I'm going to go with myself. I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah, that's what I like. All right. Let's hear it. Marty, what do you got?
See, I told you he's full of crap. No, no, he is. I have a lot of confidence and believe. I always believe in myself and what I do, but I'm also a realist, and I look at the results, and I have to say, the last year we fished on tour with a tackle warehouse, he beat me more than I beat him, and we just fished. First time we've all three fished against each other in a tournament. We just fished the Toyota Series at Smith Lake, and we actually all got cut a check, so that was a good thing. But
Nice. All right. How'd that go? But tell us about this. Let us in on this story because you're fishing. Walk us through that tournament a tiny bit. I want to hear like first day, second day, who's feeling good, who's leading, and give us some build up because I want to definitely hear. Because when you said to take your feelings out of it of who do you think is better, we got some proof now from this last tournament. So
yeah,
give us a little feedback.
that's right. Just to be real on this deal, the first day. And during practice, there was a lot of talk going, I mean, we was pretty much, I think everybody was straight up with each other, telling each of us how we was catching them and, trying to help the others out. Everybody had their own deal going. And
Because I have a lot of boys. I got 5 boys actually.
oh, yeah, that'd be very confusing. But anyway, the first day, I think Hot Shot here was on the bottom the first day.
I got crushed on day one.
He had a tough first day one, and then bounced back with a great day two, like he's known for. But the first day, his little brother was actually leading, and I think I was in the middle, and he was bringing up the rear the first day.
Yeah. Hey, but it doesn't end on day one. It ends on the right. Until it's over.
It is a multi-day tournament. So then the second day we came in, and he had probably one of the bigger bags of the tournament. I think he had like 14 pounds on Smith. That's probably like having 20 on the Delta, And so he jumped us both, and his little brother had another good bag. So I think they were up in the.
We were like 31st and 35th, I think, or 36.
Yeah.
But I will say, I will give it to him. I ain't gonna act like he didn't have a little issue because the second day he did have an hour, I think, that he lost to boat trouble. So I told him not to use that as an excuse, just messing with him. But he did have a little bit of, or I did have a little bit of an advantage that second day.
So yeah, out of I think we had a 250 boat field, so it was a pretty big field, and they was 30th, 31st, and I think me and Swindle cut them 2 last checks on the bottom there. We slipped in there and got them 2 last checks.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, that's pretty good rating right there. I think that's a pretty good recap. Thanks for sharing. I mean, as far as the family battle, what's long term look like? Do you see yourself? I mean, as far as fishing with the boys, rooting for the boys, staying on tour, like with your younger son, and I'm not sure exactly how old. When do you think he's going to make this progression? Do you think he's coming on tour to join you guys?
There's a good chance. He's actually fishing the Tackle Warehouse Tour this year. This is his first year fishing a tour, I guess, traveling and fishing. And they've had 2 so far. He fished the first one at Sam Rayburn. He got cut a check in it. And I think he just missed a check at the second one, which was on West Point. I think he's maybe in the 20s in points or 30s, something like that. But so, he's had a decent start. He's actually at Kentucky Lake this week, and hopefully he can catch them there. But yeah, he's got he's actually got a shot. He'll have to catch them real well this year to make it to the Bass Pro Tour. But there's a shot that he could actually be fishing with us next year. And then I've also considered, I fished with him, got to fish with him, travel and fish with him for a couple of years, and I've always said, well, if it gets too hectic, with my work schedule and both my kids fishing now, and I am actually getting one or two gray hairs here in the beard. I could always, I would really enjoy too, even being able to travel with Mitchell some, my younger one, and fish the tackle warehouse circuit.
Mm.
It's awesome.
So that would obviously be an option for me as well. But
Cool.
we're just gonna kind of fill it out and see how it rolls.
So to take a pause and like maybe a different direction, what's it like? Because I think a lot of people see fishing and like, oh, this family, like the streets are paved with gold. They're just out fishing the tours. Tell us a little bit. I think there's a plumbing company that comes in play here, because I want people to realize it's not just all glitter and casts and catching fish. Marshall was saying that he spent some time doing some plumbing, and he still does some plumbing, and you maybe do some plumbing. Give us a little insight of that if you can.
Yeah, I still own a plumbing business here at the house. We do mostly commercial plumbing, and I tell everybody, these boys they might can outfish me now, but I can plumb circles around them. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah. He knows the deal on the plumbing job. He knows he's number one out there. He's the boss.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's good. I mean, I appreciate. I just want to say I appreciate that. Just I was a plumber for like 20 years of my life, and my kids are out there working, and we've done a bunch of different jobs. And Rick always teases me, but the plumbing business is no joke. And laying pipes, and whether you're doing commercial home stuff, whatever, having I think that grounding of a real job. We're kind of teasing with some other anglers that have been in a Bassmaster Classic winner, and we're joking about, oh, okay, we got a real job versus a fishing job. Living the life on tour seems so glorious. How do you rate the pressure of the two? Which one has more pressure? Is it a plumbing job or showing up on tour and trying to catch fish against 200 boats?
Well, it kind of depends on what contractor's hollering at you that week. And
I love it.
And how big he is. But no, it's plumbing has been great. Plumbing has been the best thing that happened to me as far as my fishing career. If there's any young people out there wondering how to start fishing for a living, definitely, in my opinion, this is my opinion, the college deal. People ask me about college fishing, this, that, and the other. I think a person should only go to college, or I think college is only a good investment if whatever field you're getting in requires a college degree. Now, if you don't know what you want to do and don't know how you want to make money, I think sometimes these parents may be wasting their money sending their kids off to college, and they don't have a clue what they want to do or get into. So obviously, if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, or something that takes a college degree, you have to have it. It'll be a great investment for you. But if you really want to make some money to travel and be able to fish, the only way I can honestly tell you how is to learn something that you can own your own business, work for yourself, make your own schedule, and make enough money to support a family or whatever.
You're not wrong, because you go to college. Like I have a son who's a freshman in college, and tuition's $100,000 a year, and if I wasn't certain that he didn't know what he wanted to do, I would have encouraged him to go to a 2-year school, get the basics out of the way for cheap, and then, once he's figured it out, go specialize and pay that high tuition. But you're not wrong, because you own your own business, or you learn a trade, you're never out of work. And you can control your own destiny. And when times are tough and you're not cashing checks on tour all the time, it's not going to be feast or famine, because you've got something to fall back on. And just going to college for the sake of going to college.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it would be hard for me, if I have a bad tournament or 2 bad tournaments, don't cut a check, and I got to come up with another $5,000 entry fee. Okay, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, if you work for yourself, you can come home, jump on the job, and hustle and get it done, and make you $5,000 to pay that entry fee, and that would be really hard to do working by the hour for somebody.
Okay. Let's say that's it. Awesome insight. I mean, Justin Hamner was talking about that, like doing concrete, cutting grass, all these different things, and the work put in to be able to do your dream and live your dream. Where did this all start? Can you share, like, did you fish with family members? Is there a grandpa involved in all this? Because it seems like you have this legacy you're passing on. Can you share, like, where your fishing journey began?
You know, it's really crazy. It's and maybe that's why I love it so much. My grandpa bass fished a little bit, but you know, I never got to go much. My dad really didn't bass fish. Nobody in my family really bass fished a whole lot. And I had a buddy from middle school. I got to hanging around a little bit. They had a lake house, and this was like in the 7th grade. So compared to these guys, I actually got started late in life, and he introduced me to bass fishing, you know, about the 7th grade. And dude, it just, you know, I'd never been around nothing like that. And it just intrigued me for whatever reason, you know, maybe it was not knowing what was under the water. You know, I love the thought process of trying to go out and figure out, you know, how to catch these little green fish running around in the water. And, you know, I just never looked back. I had I guess a huge passion for catching them, starting in ponds, progressing to lakes. And you know, I was more of a self-taught angler. I didn't have guys that could take me out and show me how to catch them cranking, show me how to catch them flipping. I would read magazines, watch videos, take notes, read them again, watch the videos again, then go out on the lake. And I may be going out on Lake Hartwell, that's a herring lake, that fish never feed on bottom and there's no ledges to crank, but I may be going out there where I saw a tournament on Kentucky Lake where they wanted cranking ledges, trying to make this work, and I didn't understand why it was working. But after I'd done it so long and then finally ingrained it in my head that, you know, this is a totally different lake, you remember it a lot more, you know, and you learn your lessons the hard way, so I guess they stick a little bit more. But you know, my two boys I got to admit, they have had the advantage of me explaining to them something like that. Say, all right, man, no, the tournaments you see on television and you read about cranking ledges at Kentucky Lake, it's all about the way the lake's laid out, the current that runs through the Tennessee River. It's nothing like the lakes here at home. Our fish feed up. They chase bluebacks. You know, they roam around out over timber chasing bluebacks. It's totally different. You're not going to blast them cranking ledges on Lake Hartwell. And so they didn't have to go out and put all those hours in. But, you know, looking back, it may have made me a little better fisherman, learning it the hard way.
Right.
Love that.
That's
Love
good.
that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're going to open the phone lines and take some calls in a minute, but I do want to say thank you to Bass 365. Ricky from Bass 65 is a good friend of the show, and he helped us get Marty and Marshall on the show today, so thank you to Ricky for doing that. And as always, the phone lines are open, so if you guys have a question and want to call in and talk to Marty and Marshall, we'll take your calls. But maybe we can look ahead to, you know, before we take some calls, maybe we can look ahead to Santee Cooper. And that's the next stop. I read an article today on MLF where you were talking about, you know, what you think you're going to be throwing. So,
yeah, I was for the Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah,
it'll be Eufaula. Yeah, Eufaula.
Oh, sorry, Eufaula.
Eufaula. Yeah. Another shallow, dirty water. You know, like it's going to be like kind of like I've been hearing a lot of guys say, you know, there's been a lot of scoping going on the last, you know, 3 or 4 events because it's been winter / springtime and even, you know, last fall. And that's a lot of live scoping because that's when your fish feed on bait and they're, you know, out off the bank. They're not all pulled up, you know, and this is the time of year they all pull up. They make that big push. So, I think you'll be seeing a lot of shallow power fishing coming up. And even if they are scoping, they're going to be scoping something involving the bank, you know, relating to the shore. And I'm looking forward to it because I'm ready to put a bait caster in my hand and set the hook rather than a little spinning pole.
Yeah, and I know, Marshall, that's one of your favorite things in covering some water. We're talking about chatterbaits. We're talking about buzzbaits. What is the strength that you think you have? And these are the fun things with we got 2 family members, so I don't want to pitch it against each other too much. But what is your strength in fishing, and then what is something that you maybe feel is a weakness first, and then if you can kind of share the thoughts, like what's your dad best at? So first answer, what's your strength in your fishing, and what's your weakness?
Yeah, I'd say I'd say my two strengths, for one, is going to be shallow power fishing, because that's what I was brought up doing. We used to live on a small lake. It was called Lake Lyman, and it was only about 350 acres, and that's where I learned how to catch a bass. And that lake, it would get as dirty as any lake I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it looked like you could walk across it, and zero inch visibility. So those fish, they love to feed shallow. You could throw big line, big, heavy action rods. So chatterbait, a buzz bait, maybe shallow cranking, swim jig, pitching a jig, stuff like that. And then also, I'd say another one of my strengths is deep, clear water. And I think that's just because, you know, all of our big lakes here, Kiowee, Hartwell, Joe Cassie, Russell, even Clark's Hill, a lot of the year is clear, and they have deep water. Those fish have access to deep water, and they feed on shad and herring. And
When you say deep water, where you're at, what's considered deep for you guys?
like we catch them, I mean, I've caught them out of 100, 200, foot deep. Sometimes off the bottom, and 80 to 100.
So I wanted you to share that, because that's this whole thing. Is like, I know Rick's mouth is open over there. When we're in California, we're going 50, 60, 70 feet deep. It's pretty bad. And we're like, okay, it takes forever to get your bait down there. And then you start talking about fizz fish and fish, handling practices. Dealing with the fish at 100 feet is a whole lot different than shallow water. So pretty unique that you're going from power fishing up shallow, and another strength is super deep. How do you feel about fishing the spawn? Because I know this topic today, we want to get into that at some point. Is that one of your favorite times? Do you fish the spawn? Having all these dirty lakes that you're fishing, you're probably not seeing them up on their beds very well, but is that something that you feel like you're really good at?
Yeah, I feel like that would be another thing that I enjoy doing, because like I was saying, our big lakes around here, the visibility is pretty clear. You can see 5 to 10 foot in most of them. So you can see those fish when they come to the bank to spawn. And there's something I just enjoy about looking at them, man, seeing how they react, what baits they react to, and just the way my heart gets to pounding when I'm sitting there looking at a 6 or 7 pounder, and I know she's nose down and she's going to bite any second. I mean, my heart's beating out my chest.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got to get into that. I got some theories on that. Now I want to hear can you give us a survey, and then we're going to flip this over to Pops in a second, but what do you think Pops' strengths are? Because you didn't share your weaknesses about yourself, but that's fine. But I want to hear you give me your strength view of what your dad has to offer for fishing.
I would say his strengths is going to be, for one, sight fishing. I think honestly, this man right here is probably a top 10 sight fisherman that I could name, period. I mean, he taught me how to sight fish, and if he can find one that's even possible to catch, if it's a catchable bass, I feel like he can catch it. So I'll give him that. And also, I feel like he's great with a jig, and he also likes stuff like a big worm, flipping. He's a power fisherman himself. So
I love it. How do you do, Marty? Did he describe you pretty good?
Yeah, pretty much. Back in my old days, now these new days, you better be a finesse, and you're getting left behind. And a lot of my games converted over to a lot more finesse fishing. And dude, it's been a while since I got to get that old jig out. And I remember the first time I rolled up at the California Delta, dude. I put in, and my first day of practice ever being on the Delta, the first bite I got was a 10-5 on a buzz bait.
There you go.
And I went on to catch probably over 30 pounds that day on a Buckeye mop jig. That's a secret. I'm letting that out of the bag. I shouldn't be saying that.
That's all right. We like it.
But
welcome. I was just say, welcome to the Delta. I mean, those fish are out here, and they're getting harder to find. The thing about the Delta is it's just such eye candy. Everything is so fishy. It looks beautiful. So, congrats to you for coming out and cleaning up. Sounds like you did pretty good.
That's my top 5. That definitely being my top 5 of all time, California Delta. And I think I've been out there 2 or 3 times. Let's see. I think the first time we came, Aaron won. He was talking to the cat, catching him on the drop shot, and
yeah.
Actually, that was my second elite tournament, and I think I finished maybe 14th in that tournament. I think I missed top 12 cut by a little bit, but caught them all on that mop jig, son. They ain't never seen a buckeye mop jig that day, but and then I think the next time maybe, or the next two times, Cruz won one, and Justin Lucas won another time. I can't remember which two of them. So I've been there 3 times, but dude, I love that place.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Those are good stories. So tell me, both of you, what do you think your fishing weakness is? Like, what area that you would like to maybe work on, but what do you just maybe feel like you have a hole or a void in your fishing?
Now, I could give you hands down my biggest weakness, and that's punching mats. And y'all might have something to say about that because I know y'all do it a little bit, but punching mats, that's something I do not enjoy at all. I would rather stay at the house than go fishing if I had to punch mats all day.
No, that's my new addiction to the Delta. My buddy is like,
No.
you want to go and catch it? It's 10, 12, 13-pound fish. We got to punch them and get them in their living room. So I'm newly addicted. That's what I've been working on the off season is left-handed, truly old scissor flipping to get my bait right back in the water. So punching, flipping, I'm all about that. So interesting that is a void. Maybe it's the water not having the Delta, like 35 minutes away. What about you, Marty? What do you got? What do you think is a void in your fishing?
Well, I need, obviously I need to work on my scope game a little more. Just like everybody else my age, I'm sure. But I'm getting better at it. I missed the bus on this last tournament because it was a good scoping lake, and I tried to make it work, and that's probably why I had a bad tournament. I tried to make it work too much, and probably should have went to the bank a little bit earlier. But yeah, I'm actually learning a lot from these two knuckleheads over here. I've taught them all their lives, so now I'm making them repay.
Yeah. Now they're teaching you.
Turnaround's fair game. That's right. You taught them how to hold a rod. You teach them, you teach pops how to read that screen. So good on the family. I love it.
Yeah. Let's go to the phone lines and let's take a call if you guys don't mind. Let's go to our first call. Who is that? I think it's Matt Brown. Matt, what's going on, man?
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
Oh man, I'm super excited to get to talk to you guys.
Go for
Yes,
it.
sir.
So you guys mentioned you fall earlier, and that's the next stop. I think you all are coming down, and that's pretty close to my neck of the woods. And we mentioned spawn a little bit, and that's one of those lakes that you can literally get as dirty as the Chattahoochee and, as clean as the California Delta, depending on which arm you're up on that lake. And I was going to ask how you would break that down in this spawn when you literally have every water condition from, that stained all the way down to, I can see 35 feet. How would you break that down on a, massive lake like that?
That's a great question.
I'd say for me, the first thing I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna look at the big creeks on the lake, and the first thing I'm gonna do is check the lower end because I believe that's on most lakes. That's where some of your clearest water is gonna be because you don't have the rivers pumping that dirt and the sediment straight into the lake. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna check that more just as far as visibility goes because I know that's where I'm gonna be able to see them the most. And I'm probably just gonna go get on the bank and burn and just out of curiosity, just see what I can find. And if you run into them, that's great because that's where you're gonna be able to catch them the easiest as far as looking at them. But then also I'd pay attention to water temperature because you may have water that's 5 degrees warmer on the lower end. The upper end, your fish may be pre-spawn, and you might not have to see them. Even if they are spawning, you might not have to see them. You just really try to dial them in on what they're spawning to. But yeah, I think there's two different ways to approach it. I think, if you want to see them, definitely going to look for the clear water, starting with the lower end. And then if you're fishing up lake, you really just need to dial in what kind of cover or what kind of bottom they're spawning on. What do you think?
On a lake like that, my other question would be, so it's a huge, I won't say tidal fluctuated, but it's rain fluctuated pretty heavily. It's got two major feeder lakes. So, that river can fluctuate up, 4 or 5 feet almost instantaneously, it feels like. How do you fish that? Because I know that lake specifically has a lot of suck brush and a lot of stuff that gets exposed when the water's up, and it's great. But say a lake that's more like a Gibson just to the north, where if it moves up, you may not be able to get to that 8 to 10 foot range. How do you break that portion down?
Obviously, I have a little experience on Fort Gibson. I fished Fort Gibson a time or two, and it's a really good lake. Good
I've
boat.
seen you out there actually.
Yeah, yeah. I think the last time we fished there, I caught them decent on docks. It's got some pretty good dock fishing in the area I was in. But yeah, I noticed. Looks like it fluctuates a lot. Look, similar, I guess, to Eufaula. And but yeah, most of the time when the lake on average, and this pertains to most of the tournaments we've had when the water gets outside the bank, the original shoreline. When you go to a lake and it floods, it usually fishes a little tougher. And that's because, like you're saying, a lot of times I don't think you can get to some of those fish. A lot of those fish flood up in the cover, way back into trees and bushes that you can't actually get to. So what a lot of guys do on tour, you will look for actually hard banks where the water can't get outside the bank. So you'll find maybe a high bank, somewhere where you can actually get to the bank. So those fish have to pretty much stop when they move up. And but that's just one of the keys and tricks that I look for like that. And obviously, you still look for the bait, but the biggest clue is looking for the original shoreline, or trying to get to a hard bank's what we call it.
Interesting.
Awesome. I mean, honestly, I'm feel like I'm getting to talk to the guy that wrote the book on it, and this is pretty cool for me. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, I appreciate the question, and I wrote a few books, man. They hard to find. They're really hard to find. No, maybe that'll help you. Hopefully, that's one of the little tricks that I've learned traveling on tour over the years.
All right, great question. Thanks for calling in, Matt.
Well, I appreciate it, guys.
You got it. See ya.
That's awesome.
All right. Who's up next, Fixie? Go ahead, caller.
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm calling in from the Lansing area of Michigan. I just recently started fishing, and I know that, I'm in college right now, so I'm like the same age as your son. But like, what's one thing that I should focus on, like pre-spawn wise? I know like throwing, like your basics, like red sticks and like all that. But I don't really have like that much experience fishing wise, and I'm just trying to, get better.
Yeah. And he said you said you're from Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay.
What part of Michigan?
The Lansing area, but sometimes, I will go out to like the St. Clair area, or I will go also to Lake Michigan over by Manistee.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we fished several of those lakes up there in Michigan, man. There's a Gull Lake. Are you anywhere near Gull Lake?
I believe it's like an hour drive from me, or an hour and a half. So yeah, really not that far.
Well, I'll give you my tip, my number one tip for someone, you said you hadn't been fishing for a long time. You're kind of getting into it, wanting to learn a lot more pre-spawn deal.
And this pre-spawn smallmouth.
Yeah, pre-spawn smallmouth. Dude, I'll tell you, I'll give you number one tip that my youngest one does more than anybody, and that's YouTube, son. YouTube's got to be your best buddy these days. Because when I was young, I read the magazines, about half of it was the truth. The other half was lies, and you learned the hard way. But YouTube, a lot of these YouTubers nowadays, they put the video footage to to pretty much show their theories, and it's real educational. My youngest one, I mean, he keeps up with it. He knows everything, and he tells me a lot of stuff he sees on YouTube that has really, taught us a few techniques here and there. But that's probably one of the biggest things as far as educating yourself on pre-spawn fishing.
And I think Kevin's filmed some videos on pre-spawn smallmouth up there. And I think Kevin likes to focus on hard lures. Obviously, that's his style, but I think they catch a lot of those big smallmouth pre-spawn jerking and cranking, and maybe on a Kitech.
Yep.
Okay.
Some type of
All right. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, we also,
Bye-bye.
just so you know, you can head over to the website over on monsterbass.com. There's like 400 plus how-to videos, and you can filter by pre-spawn, spawn, type of bait, everything that you need, and you can find any kind of video that you're looking for. So they're right,
Is that the QR code in the box?
That'll tell you about the baits that come in the box, but if you just go to the monsterbass.com, look at the navigation, and let me just see where. I think it's right there in the navigation. I think it says, tips and techniques. You can find out anything that you need.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You got
Have
it, man.
a great night.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
Yeah,
I'll be checking out some of them tips and techniques myself now. You didn't give the secret up.
Oh yeah, I've been making them on forward-facing sonar. You want to take my advice on that for sure.
Yeah. Rick will steer you in the right direction. Hey, I got a theory here, and I want to ask you both. And I don't know if you've got this or done this. Bed fishing. I went bed fishing, and I wasn't talking down bed fishing last week, but just understanding what the fish are doing. They're up there, they're making babies or whatever. Maybe sometimes we don't want to give them too much pressure, but if you need to catch a fish, I have a theory, and I've put it to practice twice. So big fish pinned on a bed, sitting there, put a worm out in its face, doesn't want anything. So I took a huge oversized bladed jig, and I kind of messed with the fish. And I'm thinking the psychology is I wanted to show a fish something that it wouldn't eat, but maybe test. And I don't know what I was testing. Maybe it's bravado or whatever, but I put this big bladed jig in front of it, kind of to piss it off, I thought. And then I did that 2 or 3 times. I took that, set that down, went right back to the worm. Instantly it hit the worm. Done it now on 2 different beds. Have you ever done anything like that? Because this is a brand new theory that I'm thinking, like, the psychology of the fish. I'm kind of making it mad with something that I know it's not going to eat. And then the second I put that smaller size worm in there, it crushed it. So have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's
agitated him. Yeah,
there's a lot of guys, and one tournament I remember particular on Santee Cooper. Actually, I didn't fish that tournament. I think that was maybe the year before I started. I think maybe Preston Clark won that tournament. But a lot of guys was catching bedding fish, and actually Aaron was one of them. And they were taking a big swim bait, throwing it out there, winding it to the bed, and dropping it in the bed. I'm talking like maybe even a big mission fish, 316 or something, some kind of big swim bait. A lot of guys was doing that to trigger those bigger fish,
And that's the way a lot of the kids around here will do it. They'll take the big swim baits and the glide baits. They'll bring it right over and let it fall in there. And if the fish doesn't take it, it was really interesting to do a follow-up bait that was super easy for the fish to get in its mouth. So just a theory I'm throwing out there of that big. And I even shared it last week, is taking a buzz bait and putting a buzz bait, because you can't get more metal and trash to sit on a bed, and that fish can go in and pick that thing up and move it. I've had a lot more luck putting a smaller bait in a bed, because it can obviously get it in the mouth, and the necessity now to show that you've caught the fish in its mouth. I think that's an important feature, but just specifically trying to make it mad first and then giving it a much easier bait. Be interesting to see what happens with that, but that's just a theory I had. I used it twice this last week, and at the second that small worm went in right behind that bladed jig, it took it. My wife Kelly, she fishes a lot with me, and she's the mom of the 6, so she felt bad fishing and catching this mom fish sitting on its bed. And so she, the whole time, she's like, I'm not proud. I don't like it, but it was pretty interesting how that worked out. So that's just a little theory I've got out there.
I like that. I like that. We have one more caller. Let's can we go? Let's go to the phone line and take this caller. He's been waiting a little bit. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Rick. Hey, this is Chaplain Cap from Talking Rock, Georgia.
Chaplain
I just
Cap,
wanted to call in, and I'm good, sir. I wanted to tell the Robinson men that I really appreciate all the things that they do on the water and off the water. Mr. Robinson, you were fishing a tournament in Chickamauga a couple of years ago, and I was in a kayak. We were in a kayak tournament same time you guys were fishing your tournament. And you actually yelled over to us and told us a bait to try. And you were in the middle of a tournament, and you helped us out. So I've never forgot that. You know, it's funny because Rick has been bringing people on that I've got to meet, you know, somewhat in my fishing adventures. And I wanted to thank you guys for what y'all are doing out there. And I've read one of your books, too, by the way.
Yeah, all right, man. Well, at least somebody read it. Yeah, somebody read it. Yeah, man. That might have been. That must have been one of the few times I've caught him on Chickamauga because that lake kicks my tail most of the time. But it's got some big ones. It does have some giants in it.
Well, here's my question for you. All right, I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm going to be fishing in a tournament on the 27th, Bass Nation. It's a kayak tournament on Lake Altoona. And we're supposed to have a lot of rain come in that weekend. So my question is, what would be your, and this is for either one of you, but what would be your go-to warm rain, spring rain fishing techniques for a Georgia waterway?
Great question.
Does Altoona have herring and bluebacks in it?
They do.
Okay. All right. It does. Okay.
I'm going to say if it dirties up, dude, I'm going to say a 3-blade spinnerbait because there'll probably be a shad spawn, herring spawn, something going on.
That's a good one. I would say not too far off. I'd say a swim jig or a chatterbait just because it's something moving. When you got rain coming in like that, I assume the water level is going to rise and you're going to have to relocate fish or just locate them. So I would definitely have something locked in my hand that I can move with. Yeah, what he said, the 3-blade, that's hard to beat.
Yeah, I usually throw a chatterbait or some type of a spin bait if the water's cloudy at all. So that was kind of my go-to. But I wanted to see what you guys would say because it's supposed to pour down on us during that tournament, so it's going to be a fun one.
I'd have me an old Strike King 1.5 tied on too, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I sure do appreciate your time. And Rick, you guys are always doing a great job. And love your company and love all this family that's on the chat here.
Thank you.
So God bless y'all, and I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support. Good friend of the show, Chaplain Cap. We got another caller. Let's take it. Go ahead, caller. What's your question?
Hello, gentlemen. How you guys doing? T-Rex here.
Hello, T-Rex.
What's up, T-Rex?
Not much. My question is, I know you guys fish a lot of tournaments, and I know with any kind of fishing, you have good days, you have bad days. On your bad days, what do you do to try to catch more fish? Do you travel a lot on your boat, or do you just keep pounding one area and trying to get them to bite?
Well, man, I don't know, but you must be a bad dude to have a nickname T-Rex.
He is a bad dude.
Yeah, he is. You nailed it.
I'd say, on a bad day, if you can't get nothing going, I'd say one of the best things to do is pick up, make a pretty significant area change. Because a lot of times you could be throwing the right baits and doing the right thing just in the wrong area. So I'd say area change.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, that's what.
Sorry, T-Rex. I remember my very first Bassmaster Classic down at the Red River, and Skeet Reese got up there, and it was really foggy, and he said that he thought he fished for like a total of like 45 minutes that day because he would cast it a bunch of times and then just leave. and he was just cruising around the entire lake looking for a location change. Now, granted, we didn't have forward facing sonar then, but like I was amazed at how much he said that he was covering the lake trying to find a spot, and he'd go to a spot, cast 3-4 times, and then he'd just leave. So I guess that's pretty much the norm.
Yeah, and that was the
Marshall. Go ahead, Marty.
That was the classic. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to say, Marshall, that was pretty wise. My buddy was out there with the high school kids this last week, and they had one guy broke off the first fish. Then he got a rat's nest and snapped off a lure. And there was just this bad mojo going. And he said, all right, guys, even though the bite's here, we're leaving. And he completely left a bite, and they took him to reset and to restart. And I think that's an important thing to understand, that you nailed it right off, that you may be doing all the right things, but maybe if you're doing all the wrong things, just an area change, a scenery change, and resetting yourself mentally. I think that's super important to recognize. You only got so much time to fish, hit the reset button, make a move and go and start over. So that was really smart.
Love that. Good question, T-Rex.
All right.
These guys don't have bad days, T-Rex. They're always catching fish.
No, don't let him lie to you. We definitely have bad days.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, hopefully that helps you out. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I fished the one bass U.S. Opens and as a AAA, and I find that the older guys stay put and the younger guys travel a lot, and I catch more fish with the younger guys.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think you.
So that's just a curious question.
I think you nailed it, T-Rex. You right, man. My wife tells me that all the time. She says, I look at Marshall's 360 and he runs around everywhere. You sit in the same spot. And you ain't catch nothing.
I love it.
Love it.
All right.
You know how when you get
I don't
older,
want to take up too much of your guys' time.
Nah, man, you all right. You know how it is when you get old. You don't want to run around the whole lot.
That's right.
Yeah. Thanks, Heartbreaker.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being on the show. And Rick, again, thanks for your donation this last weekend. We really appreciate it. We raised 16 $1,000 scholarships for kids here in the Valley.
That's amazing. That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Congratulations. Great work.
Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, T-Rex. All right. Phone line's
Rick.
empty right now? Yes, sir.
I'm digging the sweatshirt, Rick. What do we got? What's the South Carolina boys got to do to get one of those monster bass?
Yeah.
Well, all you got to do is tell me your size, and then make sure that if Pepsi's lawyer ever asks you if it looks like Mountain Dew, you say no, it's Monster Bass.
Mountain Dew never crossed my mind when I looked at that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll get you one. What size you want?
I'm an XL all the way.
All right.
Just wear it around Gerald Swindle. I know Gerald. Yeah, I was gonna say Gerald might have something to do with Mountain Dew, so make sure you wear that when you're next to that guy.
Yeah. You shoot us 2 XLs out here. We'll show it to Swindle. Tell him that's the new.
For sure. I'll get those. Fixie, phone line's empty. All right, great. I know we only got a few minutes left, but, we've been talking a lot here at Monster Bass with the community about fishing the spawn. And I would love to know from each of you, what's your go-to bait for fishing the spawn, and what tips can you impart on our community before you guys take off?
I'll start just because I want to say that in all my life, I know I ain't got all this experience that all these other guys have.
All his long life.
Yeah, but all my whole experience catching sight fish, I've never had a single bait that I could take to multiple lakes and get fish to bite right off the bat. I've never had one. So when I know I'm going to be bed fishing, I want to have my boat loaded. I want to have everything from drop shots to glide baits to jigs to creature baits to swim baits to, just anything, because I'm going to have about 10 rods rigged up. And I'm going to usually start off with something on heavy line, 20-pound line on a bait caster, just because that's the, most efficient setup to land a bass on, rather than like 8-pound line on a spinning rod. So I'm going to start out flipping that big line and, that power fishing that big rod in there first, try to hook her on that. But if she doesn't bite, I'm going to rotate through every single bait that I can think of just to give it a different presentation. Maybe it requires a drop shot to get it eye level if she don't want to sit down on bottom, or maybe maybe she wants a nose down on it, or maybe she wants something walked over the top of her bed, a top water. So I always switch it up.
Dad?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. What I've seen and learned going across the country, fishing different lakes, sight fishing different lakes, it tends to be a lot of times whatever techniques or lures are conducive to catching those fish is going to be similar lures to sight fish with. In other words, for instance, if you go to a Florida lake, some kind of soft plastics like some kind of Zoom critter crawl, Zoom speed crawl, something like that is going to work real well on those Florida bass. If you go out, say out west to Table Rock, a more of a clear lake, maybe a little finessier lake, it could be more of a finesse bait, like a finesse jig, something small, maybe even a drop shot, something like that, a little minnow bait. And then you go out to California, clear lake. It could be, Cincos catch them in that clear water. Well, also a Cinco is going to be good for bed fishing. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Seems like that's what I've saw. If it's a finesse type lake, usually finesse type baits are going to be good for sight fishing as well.
Good.
I want to add one more thing too, real quick. One thing I've noticed everywhere I've been, if you'll just pay attention to that fish for a little bit and see what's around them, if there's bluegill running around the bed, she's running off bluegill, then maybe throw you something that looks like a bluegill. But if they're running around little shiners, like from experience the other week at Smith, when I had that 15 pounds, my biggest bass come on bed. And I noticed that, she was kind of tough to catch, but I noticed she was running around these little emerald colored shiners, one after another. Just every time they come over bed, she'd take off after them. And so I rigged up a drop shot and I put a 3-inch emerald looking shiner on and I caught her first cast. So I think it's good to pay attention to what those fish are chasing off their bed and, what's around them in their environment.
So if you got big 10-inch
if you got mullet,
trout,
if you got mullet running through the bed, throw a mag draft in there.
Yeah.
Put the big Huddleston on. If them rainbows won't leave her alone.
I love it.
Love that. That's amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I want to say thank you guys for coming on the show today. Like, we had a really great time, and it's good to see, we haven't had a father and son on before. And I really love the fact that, Dad gets to impart that knowledge and then watch his son scoop it all up and grow and become the tournament angler that he is. I mean, I know how excited I get when I see my son and I see him do amazing things. So I can only imagine what it must be like to watch your son week in and week out. So congratulations to all of you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking to you. It's great being on the show.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Before you guys go, can you any sponsors you want to give shout outs to? Because I know this is part of the business side that you guys obviously working your hearts out, doing the plumbing, out on tour, but I'm sure there's some people you want to thank and give credit to. And for us as fans of your family now, like forever, I can't wait to follow along on what's going on. I also love to give a head nod to the companies that support you. And that's a chance for the Monster Bass family to check out those companies. So give us a rundown from each of you of the companies that support you so we can get some insight to that.
Well, just like Chris was talking about earlier, the first time I guess ever met me was when Mike Medevitt was working with Castaway Rods. I've been with Castaway. I've been with most of the companies I'm with most of my career, but Castaway Rods, have been with them from the get-go, man. They're a great company to work with. Buckeye Lures, same thing. They're owned by GSM Outdoors now. It's a huge company. They're making some great baits. Their product development has come a long way, and they're really making a push right now. Come out with some good scoping baits and just all the great companies we're with. We just started with Suzuki outboards, dude. That is a awesome outboard. I've had a ton of guys ask me how we like those engines, dude, and I love them. I'm a huge fan. I've always, I've actually kind of I've had a pontoon for several years, and I ran a Suzuki on it, and then I actually, they started getting into the bass boat industry, and now I'm running one, and I really love it. I've always known how dependable it is, and I got it on my Phoenix 920, and I've been running that boat for several years now. I've been with Phoenix for several years, and really love my boat and outboard, and just super excited and appreciate everything all my sponsors do. Obviously TH Marine, a lot of other ones. But
yeah, and I agree with him. And yeah, Suzuki, we both got on with Suzuki this year. They've been great. Brandon and Ricky, they're good people. And Phoenix Boats and also GSM. Going back to GSM, Jennifer and Crispin, they've both been great. And they kind of took me under their wing, took a little risk on me, and they're great people, treat us like family. We have a big group of guys, and it's not like a big company. It's not like you don't stay in touch. You're like buddies. And also, the local companies that sponsor me, JLG, A&A, Gill's a big one for me, and Palmetto Boat Center here locally, they're great. But just everybody who's willing to take a risk and come on board with me, I just really appreciate it.
And like I told that guy, throw that Strike King 1.5, man. Any hard baits you need, Strike King's got them. And I've been with Lou's Reels most of my career, and P Line's actually out your way. P Line's.
Oh yeah. Oh,
some awesome line. Man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, we know the owner well, myself. What about, how do we find you guys? Like, do we follow you? Is it Instagram, YouTube? Like, what's the best way to support you and get those algorithms up for you?
Yeah, obviously, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and everybody, give us a like, hit us up, because we need all we can get.
And I think both of our pages are just Marshall Robinson Fishing and Marty Robinson Fishing, aren't they?
Yeah. And we got it. The wife has kind of been working on a new YouTube channel, and we're trying to. What we want to do is get a deal. M3 Fishing, obviously it'd be me, Marshall, and Mitchell, and get some YouTube videos up, try to get a good YouTube channel going, YouTube following.
Yeah.
Love it. How cool is that? Awesome. Good job, family. Wait. I mean, and to have mom out there with you as well, supporting. I mean, hats off to her, because I'm sure she's doing a lot of, I don't even know what that's called, as far as the view from the mom and the wife, and managing the time and making sure everybody's out there, and then also heckling you because you're not moving around your boat enough and catching fish. So great job, mom, for doing what she does, because I know that's a huge part. So congrats to the family.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You guys are awesome.
Last question before we go.
All right.
It's an important one.
Come on with it.
Stone Cold or The Rock?
The Rock.
Okay.
I'll go Stone Cold just to say the opposite of what he said.
All right. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for being on the show. Have a great rest of the season. We'll be following you, and we look forward to having you guys on the show again sometime.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Sounds good.
Thank y'all.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We'll be looking for that sweatshirt now.
I'll send it.
I love it.
Wow. That's quite the family.
So awesome. Honestly, just like to be involved in that and to have their passion, and they could tell they're really competitive, but they're supportive, good people. What a cool thing. Yeah. And dropping knowledge. I mean, if people are listening, we talked about the spawn, and not all fish spawn at the same time last week. Well, when we were talking, we got Marshall. He's like, the different water temperature at one end of the lake versus the incoming water. Then we had a caller call and say, now we got warm rain. And so these guys are talking about the adjustments you need to make just in one single body of water. When the water level rises, then we got to watch where these fish are. And he's talking about steep banks. So much information just dropping in casual conversation. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Really great.
Cool, dude.
Really great. They were great guests. So.
Yeah.
What we got a couple minutes. Is there, whether I don't know who's winning the chat. Is Raphie in there in the chat? Do we have someone winning it so far?
I'll tell you, I peeked at the chat. I think people got lost on this food thing when he's answering. But Rick, there's a serious question going, where's the best food in California?
Tacos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like tacos, Southern California, the greatest. I mean, seriously, best burrito places, the best fish tacos. Is that even a thing? Is there anything better than that? So
No, we're gonna go. We're gonna go get tacos right after this. Like, there's no question. Like, tacos. And if I come to your town and you're like, let's go out for tacos, respectfully, no. Okay, like respectfully.
No. We have a couple places, and you know what? We need.
I don't mean in your town. I'm talking about when I go to Tennessee and they want to take me to tacos. No, I'm not going for sushi, and I'm not going for tacos in Tennessee. I'm just not.
Hey, fair enough. But I'm telling you, you may have some transplant Californians that may have their own taco stand. We had the greatest food the other night, and I don't even know. All it was 2 easy ups on the side of the road. These guys had wheeled out their own generator and a flat skillet, and they had the best taco setup ever. And it was just right on the side of the road, probably illegal, but they had the meat spit and they're cutting meat off and chopping. Just kind of, I think I saw it on your story where the guy was clipping the so I saw that taco bar. Well, we had an illegal one pop up the other day in our town, and of course, I had to stop with the family. And nobody got sick, and the food was amazing. So
good. $3 tacos all day long. I'm gonna eat like 4 of them in a minute.
That's great.
All right, Raphie, you want to give away some prizes? You want to come over here and get on camera for a minute? Like, everyone needs to see you. All right, well, come on over here. I don't know why Raphie's being shy. Come over here and sit on my lap.
How many times a day does he have to hear that?
Well, I am the boss. So I can't hear what I want, I got.
Ooh, Rick. What? Is that chapstick? All right, Marty Lawson wins the chat for sure. Wanting me in yoga pants and Raphie socks scratching his back. Carol gets a Christmas gift of me in yoga pants sliding down her chimney and giving her presents. And I have no idea who the best caller is, but since Matt Brown was the first caller, he gets a $20 Monster Bass gift card. So good work, everyone.
All right. Nice. And Matt, we're going to take care of, I know you were going to, Matt, you're going to be taking some vets fishing, and we're going to take care of some of those things that you're looking for. So let's make sure you and I can talk before the end of the week, and I'll get some stuff out to you. So we want to make sure that we can support that. And as always, Fixie, put it up on screen. Monster Bass Cares. Monster Bass Cares is a program we're really proud of, and we really care deeply about. It's our opportunity to give back to those that have given so much to us. And there's not a day goes by that I don't think about the sacrifices that our servicemen and women have made so that I can sit here and do the things that I'm doing today. And we're forever grateful for that, and we like to support those programs. And as you know, Marty Lawson heads up that program. So if you would like to make a donation of any kind, just so you know, 100% of that will go to Monster Bass Cares that supports veteran events. And Marty takes care of that. So thank you to Marty for that. And thank you to everyone that donates to Monster Bass Cares. We're truly grateful. And whenever possible, we love to support those types of events. So thank you guys so much. All right, Chris, great show.
That's fun.
When do the tournaments start?
Next month, first Wednesday. So that's what we're talking about. Wednesday nights for me may become a little difficult to be on the show the whole time. We might have to call in with the Monster Bass Power Hour and show you some Monster Bass baits live on the Delta. But we'll see what happens with that. I do have a question. Somebody's asking about the Delta and the sea lions. I want to answer that. We have a lot of issues with water going from Northern California to Southern California that allows the salt water to come further up into the Delta every year, and the sea lions are coming. Imagine 100 boat tournament, your 5 best bass, they all come back. So now we got 500 bass releasing at the boat dock. And how happy do you think those sea lions are that have figured that out, that every weekend they can come into these spots and be spoon-fed 500 of the best, fattest bass. So just to take that into consideration, that's some things that some of these tournaments are now figuring out. We got to not just release the fish right at the tournament location. We got to put them in a boat. We got to take them out. One is to repopulate the areas where we're catching them. Two is to get them away from sea lions, from just sitting there with their mouths open, waiting for those tanks to be released. So just trying to get back to those in the chat, because that's kind of a serious thing that we try to deal with here in California, is we'd have a lot of sea lions coming in. You never think you're fighting sea lions for bass, but it's becoming more and more popular here in the Delta.
True.
Okay.
So I think we'll be having a chat with you guys soon, because, we've got some challenges coming up. Do we do the show on Wednesday, or do we move it to a different day and time so that we can let Chris fish these tournaments, grab some great content, and let him fish alongside the likes of Ish Monroe and his posse? And, if you've never seen Ish Monroe, he travels with a posse. It's pretty cool. I've always said he's the hardest working man in fishing. So, we'll see.
The big hitters come out. We had Ken Ma out there last year. Whoever's in California, they know this spot. They come out to Lads Marina, and you line up your car, and it's head-to-head battle, and some money's on the line, but more bragging rights in the Delta for sure. As you saw our guests light up talking about the Delta, it's a pretty special fishery. So we'll see. Yeah, let us know if you can, if there's a different night that works, if the Monster Bass community can join us. I know we lose some people for different podcasts, so if there's a good night for folks, maybe send us some messages, and we'll see if we can keep this thing rolling.
Yeah. And I'd like to once again say thank you to Liquid Death for keeping us hydrated. Thank you to Chris and Raphie and Fixie for making this show happen, because we wouldn't be able to do it without them. And, of course, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And to those that are listening to this wherever you consume your favorite podcast, do us a favor. If you like the show today, hit the thumbs up button on the way out. Let us know what you thought. And we look forward to seeing you guys again on another episode of Monster Bass Live. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.
Sweep the leg. Yes.